Hello everyone, this is Vickie Verlie, the Rock and Roll Prophetess, and I'm coming at you today to talk about a subject that I love, which is time travel. And I'm also going to include some teleportation, one little teleportation story in here. I've always loved time travel. Any kind of movie or book, if it's involving time travel, I'm so into it. And even if the movie's not that good, I still will watch it over and over again because if it involves time travel, I'm just enthralled by this subject. So lately I've been listening to a lot of Cynthia Sue Larson's videos, and she's pretty cool. She talks a lot about time travel, and also Anthony Peake has some interesting thoughts. But I realize that I have a few cool things that have happened to me too, or maybe some different ideas that haven't been told before. When I was a kid, I remember seeing that movie, The Time Tunnel, and that was like such a crazy show. It was so cheesy, but they traveled through time in a time tunnel, and I think that may be more of what it might be like. One thing I feel is it's not a machine, okay? It's not a machine. It's a transference of energy, or it's or teleportation. It's going to be more like that, or maybe the time tunnel is really like some kind of wormhole or black hole that you go through. But I don't know anything for sure. I'm just speculating like the rest of us. But again, it's fascinating to me. I've had lots of cool things happen. Now, one of the ways, these vivid dreams, I've had a couple crazy vivid dreams where I'm sure that it's my present state of consciousness in a different time in my life. One was, I had this vivid dream. I'm outside of my family home growing up, and I'm playing with my neighbor. My friend Frankie was my best friend who lived next door. And we're playing with Barbies. And the thing about it was the Barbies and the G.I. Joes, because neither of us had Ken dolls. We used to take our brother's G.I. Joes. That was Barbie's male counterparts. But for some reason that G.I. Joe thing, that made it like so real to me, because that's not something I really think about or remember. I'm just like, oh, that's right, we did used to play with G.I. Joes. So I asked her, how old are you? And she says, I'm 10 or 11, however old we were at the time. And I said, I'm 35. And shoo, I was sucked out of it, just like that. But I think I was 35 at the time, whatever age I was, But it was definitely me in my present state of consciousness, in my body of that time, I feel. The other thing that happened with a really vivid dream, that guy that died in the motorcycle accident, I mentioned that in my synchronicity video, and how I always wondered why I was being led to go there when the night he died. And he died when we were, 21, so this is a long time later. This intense thing happens. I'm with my cousin and her mother-in-law, and they're preparing the doorway. It was an actual doorway, like on a house. And they were placing all these things around the doorway, and I don't really remember, like symbols and things, and some of them were seashells, but it was like this sacred thing. And they placed it all around the doorway, and I think on the door, and I went through the doorway. They were like facilitating or holding the door for me, and I went through the doorway. I came out in the doorway, and I'm standing outside my high school talking to this guy, Tom, who's his name. And I'm in my present day consciousness, and how I knew at this time was he looked like a kid to me. I'm like, this is a young kid, and I felt like I was the age that I was right then, probably my late 30s. And when I was that age, I didn't see him as a kid. He was my peer, so I knew that I was like in my present day consciousness. And I couldn't even speak to him. All I was doing was blubbering and crying and bawling. And he was like looking at me like, what's the matter with you? And then, shoo, again, I was like sucked out of it again. And I was sucked all the way out of it. I was sucked into waking consciousness. But when I woke up, I was still bawling and sobbing. It was very real, very different from your average or normal dream. The other thing is, when I do the past life things, I feel like I'm doing time traveling in a way, And if you've ever been regressed, it's like that. When they regress you, the first thing they say is, well, look around, look at your shoes, look at your clothing, what are you wearing? And I almost wonder just how when you space out when you're driving, when you're sitting there daydreaming, if that's not, another form of consciousness taking over or something. Like in that movie Butterfly Effect, where he loses consciousness, but in his case he just blanks out. But I wonder if when you're like sitting there sort of daydreaming, if that's not a future consciousness or another multidimensional consciousness is kind of walking in and peeking in and taking like a peek around. You know, with the past life, you know, it ties to past life, but I was always, you know, looking back in regret, like say the death of that friend, you know, I was always regretting, well, why didn't I go there? What if I was going to stop it, you know? So I came to a point maybe 5 or 6 years ago, real recently, that it's just like, I'm going to stop looking back. You know, that's a common theme. Stop, you know, thinking you can, Oprah said something like that, stop thinking you can change the past, realizing that you can never change the past. Forgiving your mistakes and everything. But another thing, I had sort of a shift at that time, and I said, I want my future self to start contacting me. And I've been hearing some other people on video talking about that. Nora Harold is another one that's mentioned something about that. And I thought of that, I thought on my own. So there's again this universe is broadcasting, but I was picking that up as well. And some things did kind of start happening, some kind of crazy things. It was almost as if, just like when you're being regressed by somebody and somebody's talking to you like the hypnotists say and saying, well, take a look around, what are you wearing, what's your clothes like and everything. It was like I could hear that. It was crazy. It first happened, I was at a jam, I might have been jam night or I might have just been sitting in at a place that I frequent a lot, a blues club. But I'm playing music, I'm playing they have a Hammond organ on site, I'm playing the organ, and somebody's kind of asking, it's like I kind of stepped back and somebody else is asking the questions and not, somebody's answering them. It sounds so crazy, but it's like a part of me is answering them. And the questions that were being asked is they were asking like the people here. First of all, I said, I'm a musician. You know, I'm saying that. Yeah, I'm still here, I'm jamming, but there's this other conversation going on, you know, above me with my higher self, oversoul, and a third party too, who's asking the questions, I think. And they're asking me like, I go, yeah, I'm a musician. And they go, who are you playing with? And I go, oh, they're friends, we all know each other, we play together all the time. Or I said, I'm just sitting in, you know, this isn't my band, I'm just sitting in. And then there's more questions, and I'm going, no, I know them all, we play together all the time. Like I'm kind of answering these questions while I'm jamming and I'm here. It was crazy. It was like I was in two places at once, or almost like I was maybe overhearing this other dimension conversation. I don't even know. It's crazy though, but it was happening. After I've said I want my future self to contact me, this stuff starts happening. And then the second time was in Obama election when I went to vote. I was in the voting booth, and the same thing's happening. You know, because I guess, you know, if my future self was looking back at incarnations, you know, I was here when the first African American president, you know, was voted into office, but I'm in the voting booth, and they're asking me questions, and this was the crazy part. They asked me if I was African American. I had to stop and look at myself. I picked up my arm and I go, no, I'm Caucasian. And I went back to voting. So it was definitely outside. I mean, I know I'm Caucasian in this incarnation, come on. Although we've been, you know, realize you've been every race in different incarnations. But I had to stop and pick up and look at my skin. That was the crazy part about it. So I feel like that's kind of a form of time travel too, and it's consciousness. And one of the things about, you know, I've done that, so I've made that choice too. Let's embrace the future. And I think we're doing that, and that's why the world is changing so quickly. Because before, when we were all separated and isolated in our own tribes, our own families, you know, tradition, this is the way we've always done it, and this is the way it's going to be. And we do these time-honored traditions. Well, here you go. You know, time-honored traditions are zero growth. You know, it's just the same as it always has been. And now we're all looking forward, and the internet connecting everybody, and we're wanting new experiences and this move to the future. And that's why things, I think, are accelerating. Because before, maybe you were just one person in your town or your tribe or your congregation who thought differently, and then you were shunned and shamed by the rest of the group, you know. No, this is the way we've always done it, and now we're moving forward. So time is accelerating. I think time was moving slower because we were so clinging to the past. And then when you start looking forward, as we all are, I think, now in this information age, then time starts speeding up too. Hi everyone, for those of you who are watching and not just listening, I did change clothes because I forgot something. After I finished the video, I forgot the best time travel story ever, and it just happened this year. I was looking for a specific make of car. I was getting a new car, well, new to me, a used car. And I wanted a purple one because they do come in purple, and that's my favorite color. So I was kind of looking around for a purple one and not really coming up with anything. It was kind of, everything I wanted was sort of out of my price range. So I'm standing at the gas station pumping gas, and something compels me to like look over, and I turn my head and I look over, and there's a girl who looks at me, and I swear it was me. I think it looked just like me, put it that way. And she was driving the same kind of car that I wanted, but it was like a cream color. And it's like, oh my God, this is so weird. And then she turned over onto the bridge, and I go a couple, 3 times a week. I travel that route all the time. So within 3 days, that exact model car with the cream color came up, and I was able to do some bartering and some other things, and I got the car. So within 3 days, I had this car that I saw myself driving in. So far I've not seen that. The thing that would really blow my mind is if I'm driving around the corner and I look over and see myself pumping gas in my old car, then that's really going to totally blow my mind. But that was so freaky. And she turned and looked at me, and it looked like me. I mean, the windows are semi-tinted, so you really can't tell, but it looked like me, and it was so crazy. Then within a couple days, I had that exact car. Okay, back to regularly scheduled programming. So there's much more to delve into in this topic, and that's just the tip of the iceberg, or a few cool things that have happened to me. And if you have any other to add to this, I'd love to hear about it. And my rock and roll quote from today is, of course, the song called Time from Pink Floyd, and it is, "Far away across the fields, the tolling of the iron bell calls the faithful to their knees to hear the softly spoken magic spell." Okay, this is Vickie Verlie, the Rock and Roll Prophetess. Thank you for watching and liking and commenting and donating. Remember that you are love and beauty incarnate. Please visit my sites, thetapestryoflifemandalas.com and orgonenergyflow.etsy.com. And I look forward to seeing you soon.
What is Orgonite? Originally discovered in the 1930s by Wilhelm Reich, orgone energy, or etheric energy, is present in living things including the human body. Reich proposed that illness occurs when our etheric body is out of balance, and that positive orgone energy could realign the etheric field, thus facilitating healing and balance of one's life force, chi or prana. It has since been scientifically proven that energy called piezoelectricity, meaning electricity resulting from pressure, is created by the compression of certain materials such as quartz crystals, wood, salt, sugar, ceramics, and bones. As the resin cures in an orgonite piece, it shrinks and compresses the organic matter contained within. The energy emitted creates a positive energy generator. You really can feel the energy coming forth from these pieces. Orgonite clears the air and neutralizes negative emotions as well as electronic clutter from our high-tech devices. Each orgonite piece is lovingly hand-created using intuitive pairing of materials to enhance and raise vibration and aid in ascension and a spiritual awakening. I use materials from nature, including the bark from a sacred willow for grounding, and gold flakes to emulate the golden light basking down from the higher dimensions. Visit my Etsy shop for a wide selection of handmade orgone pieces, especially designed for spiritual growth, including heart opening, chakra alignment and activation, and more. Visit www.orgonenergyflow.etsy.com to see more beautiful orgone pieces. And remember, you are love and beauty incarnate.